Manjit Singh Parmar. Today is 22nd of August 2014. 1984, I was 20. I was under training at Naval Dockyard, Bombay. June 1984, I was in Bombay. There were rumors going on through the Gurdwara that the government is planning something serious, because we were getting phone calls from Punjab, people who were relatives. The place we lived was Mulund, the suburb of Bombay, and we had a lot of Sikhs, and the Gurdwara over there was pretty active. So there was a lot of information coming out of Punjab in terms of blockades and restrictions on people's movement. So they know something was coming. What we heard was that the Golden Temple was attacked, and of course at that time the major source of information was Doordarshan India. So everybody was watching whatever they could on TV, we were seeing what they wanted us to see in terms of the military led by Brar, General Brar, who was in forefront at that time on the cameras, explaining what was going on in terms of. So it was pretty hurtful at what we saw, what we heard. The suburb of Mulund, in entire Bombay, there was one of the only demonstration, and in terms of first one was held in Mulund, and it was organized by the Mulund Gurdwara, and the effigy of Indira Gandhi was burned, and there were some pictures taken, and those pictures were circulated widely. So that became, and the government didn't like that. So they didn't like people reacting that way. So a lot of our friends from the area did have to fear the brunt of the police in terms of regularly being called to the police station, questioning, sitting there for all days, wasting. They couldn't go to their work, they couldn't go to their place of business. So harassment and things like that. So all just for demonstrating against, against something that such brutal attack that they did. So we were pretty angry. We were pretty angry. We never thought that a place of worship would be attacked in such a brutal. And from what the information we started coming, like the number of people, children, women that were killed, apart from whatever the so-called militants or whoever they thought they were fighting. But in terms of what we were getting in terms of actual innocent people getting killed and all that. And on top of that, the holiest, what we call as the holiest shrine. For us, all shrines are holy, but that's how it's referred to as the holiest shrines of the Sikhs. And everybody has wherever we are, wherever we're in Bombay, Canada, we always, our thoughts, we are towards Punjab or Amritsar side. So when that happened, it was very hurtful. I was at work, actually. I was at as I said, I'm undergoing training, and I was in Naval Dockyard, Bombay, which is from where I lived is 1 hour train ride. So as soon as we heard, the first thought that came, I might sound in today's terms, it's not a good feeling, but what I thought was I was happy. It's what happened, and so the first reaction was, oh, okay, as somebody took care of her. So that's the thought that came to mind. I was still at my place of work, and I had to get back home. So as typical most Sikhs who were caught up in that time, we didn't figure nothing, any untoward, anything is going to happen. But while I was in everything started shutting down. As you know, people who know train services in Bombay, it is like we are packed like sardines in trains. Doesn't matter what class we are traveling in over there. So and due to everybody leaving their offices, shutting down businesses, so it was like extra packed. And when I was in the train, I could sense some uneasiness. People, the way they were looking at us, the way they were, I guess it was like an eerie calm on people's faces. And looking at that, it looked like somebody wanted to say something, but nobody at that time didn't know what to say. So I knew that it's better, be quiet, just try to get home as soon as possible. So my train ride went uneventful, and when I came to, then I had to take another bus before I get to my house. So even the buses, they were telling the bus service is going to shut down. So lucky I was able to catch a bus and get home. During that day, not much really happened. I guess we didn't hear much that day. Everybody was glued to their TVs and things like that. So in the suburb where we lived, there were a lot of Sikhs that lived in that area. But where we lived was a little bit away from where most of the Sikhs were living. And my maternal grandparents, they also lived in the same suburb. So they call my mom and they say, you know what, bring the kids, because my dad was not living with us. He was in the Middle East at that time. So they asked my mom to, bring the kids and stay here for a few days. We don't know how, because my uncle was involved a little bit of the local political, and he was getting information that some of the local Congress leaders were trying to create some trouble. Even though they knew them very well, but I guess this was a time to show the political muscle. They're trying to show that, because this is how they show how important they are to the party, I guess. So from what we heard, so my mom took us, we picked up our stuff and went to my grandparents' place. And from there, we had a lot of, the neighborhood over there had lots of people, had lots of relatives in Delhi and stuff like that. So from that, the information that we started getting the next couple of days, they were pretty gruesome. The main thing was be prepared. And there were a lot of preparations, whatever crude things that we could assemble, we assembled. Try to, in case something happens, we're just not gonna let them do what they need to, or whatever they think they might do. So it was self-preservation as such, So that was a major concern on everybody's mind. It's you have to concern about yourself, concern about your family, concern about your brothers and sisters, your women in the house, and so that regards, there were a lot of things that was, as a neighborhood, as people got together, and they took a lot of precautions. People were up all night. Most of them were in transportation business, so they had that, because a lot of them, their trucks were caught outside, but the trucks that were still in Bombay, they parked them at areas where, in case the people do come collectively, all we're going to do is just run them over with trucks, that's all. To save yourself, that's all. So these were the small preparations that were, women were carrying red chili powders in their, tied up in the chun. So, whatever we could think of was people were, because from what the stories that we're getting from Delhi and rest of the world, rest of the country was, that most of the people who got killed, they were really, of course there were the organized attacks and everything, but they were caught unawares. They were caught unprepared, yeah. And, so that's one thing we thought. That was on everybody's mind that, it shouldn't happen first of all, but if it happens, we have to protect ourselves. From my point of view, it's, I believe it's not just one simple reason. I think there was multiple factors, multiple forces that from all various angles, from religious point of view, from political point of view, and what they call as, perfect recipe for disaster, started coming together. And so that's what my view is, that I believe it's not not one particular factor as to why that attack happened. I think it's quite a few factors that were involved. Is the politics that was Punjab, the national politics that was in terms of preserving your power. Third thing was challenging the authority, and also in the end comes down to teaching Sikhs a lesson. So these were like, we can start in whatever order we want, but but I believe these are the factors that. But above all, it's that sticking to power at any cost. That's what it came down to, is like in terms of the politics of Punjab and the national politics, is how to stick on to power, and then to attain that target, whoever comes in the way will be trampled. So unfortunately, Sikhs have always been what we call as a doormat for the attackers from the Europe and the Turks and the Persians and the Afghans. So we've been trampled before, and we got trampled again one more time. Well, the solution for the Sikhs, I would say, is better education. I would say, was to be more enlightened, and in the sense that to find, I would say, better ways in communicating as to what you really want to assert. We assert ourselves, but sometimes in a way where we get misunderstood. There are ways of asserting ourselves, and I believe we still haven't achieved that right mix as to how best to attain that.